James Gunn will officially be heading DC Films. Now, what does this mean and what does it not mean? I will first get to the basic facts and then do some speculative thinking on where we're going with the DCEU. So what does it mean? Well, essentially now Gunn and another person, a producer, will be in charge of the main DCE universe. That encompasses film, encompasses animated projects, and even television projects. So we know he's already done Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, and he's promised Peacemaker Season 2. So he's also said he's going to still do some directing, but his main goal will be to sort of try to integrate the universe a lot more and make sure that the projects presumably lead into other projects, much like the MCU. I gotta say, I don't think that's the best idea. I do like that the DCU has a lot of eclectic choices, but I do recognize, obviously, a shared universe has a lot of benefits. So, tentatively, I do support the idea, but we're going to have to wait and see where he's going to go with it. The main DCE universe, as in Peacemaker, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, will come under his jurisdiction, but many projects are not under his control. So the Joker, for lack of a better word, is kind of its own thing. And so Joker 2 presumably will get some feedback and even some guidance, but it is not really a project he can control. That will be its own thing. The same thing with the Batman universe. That will presumably be its own pocket universe and will, yes, have some feedback from him, but it will be its own thing as well. And they're developing sort of these villain-based movie projects for that. So that will be its own thing. But in terms of the main universe with Batman, Superman, and the major heavy hitters as well as small characters, those are his responsibility. And it's not just film projects, but television projects, animated projects. Now, this doesn't mean he's controlling Warner Brothers. It doesn't mean he controls all Warner Brother films, but it does mean the DC side of things are what he's going to be basically supervising, as well as trying to shape the content so it's more cohesive and presumably more integrated. So, upside, downside. Well, I'm a big Snyder person and a big fan of Zack Snyder, and a lot of pro-Snyder people seem to take this as a very negative thing because we can't hide it. He is friends with Joss Whedon. He's been friends with Joss for a very, very long time. He also seems to be on friendly terms with Jeff Johns, who was responsible for the Joss Whedon version of Justice League. And a lot of DC fans, including myself, didn't like that. It's very weird, iffy, where this is going because Gal Gadot has issues with Joss Whedon. So does Ray Fisher. Now, I don't agree with all the charges made against Joss Whedon. I do think there was abuse. But was he a racist or was he a misogynist? I think that's a little overboard. We still need more information, but there's no doubt Justice League under him was a mistake, and there were many, many problems with that production. How many problems? We still don't know. Some of the cast and crew was fine with what Joss did, and many other people were not fine with what he did. But I don't think this spells the end of the so-called Snyderverse at all. Zack supported James when he did the Suicide Squad. Technically, he was a producer on that film. So I think the lines of communication are quite open. And Zack has been overall supportive of some of these projects, including the Batman. So I don't think there necessarily is a clash of interest or even personalities. That doesn't mean the Snyderverse is going to be restored tomorrow, but I think parts of it will come back in. In terms of the main universe, which is canonical, the Joss Whedon version or the Zack Snyder version, I think it'll be wiser to just keep it ambiguous. The basic events occurred in both cases, namely Steppenwolf was defeated and killed. That's about it. And we just move on from there. And again, this isn't forever. This is a contract that will last 4 years. If it doesn't work out, they'll move on to someone else. But I do think James is a very good choice for many reasons because he's a very creative person. He's worked on the creative side, but he also has a lot of credibility with the industry. That said, I don't like everything he's done with the DC or even MCU universe. For instance, his Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 have not worked out for me. I don't like his interpretation of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I do recognize they're very popular, and I like the design of certain characters, but I don't really like the stories on the whole. I haven't felt the need to go back to those movies. I understand that they're well made, but they're just not for me. On the other hand, I do like his Suicide Squad and Peacemaker much more, but to be consistent, they're not completely faithful to the comics. He made a lot of changes. I was comfortable with most of the changes, but not all the changes. And at least for some fans, he went way too far, making them too comedic, too joking. And his brand of humor has also come under fire, that it's a little too politically incorrect, it's too sexist or offensive or whatever. Again, I'm kind of open-minded about those things. I don't really care. I can understand some people still being offended and hoping that those issues will be readdressed, but we'll have to wait and see. So on the whole, despite being a, quote, Snyder fan, I'm tentatively supportive of this decision, but we're going to have to wait and see where they're going to go with this. I don't think this is the end of the Snyderverse. It's not a full restoration. I expect that this will be negotiated back and forth, but I'm sure James will now put the universe more in line with his own vision, with his own stylistic ticks, and he will bring people who are friendly to that. Does that mean Joss Whedon is coming back? Don't know, but now the door is definitely left open. I think for me, the bigger issue is Jeff Johns and how they're going to get along. I think, frankly, Jeff should move on, maybe put him somewhere else, but that's me. It's a lot of questions we have up ahead, but I think tentatively this is a good decision, but we're going to have to wait and see where they're going to go with it, and there are much more concrete plans with the sequels for Black Adam, Superman, and the other projects. And that's where we are with the new decision to make James Gunn the head of DC Films.